The actual map of spiritual intelligence, it exists within you. You are the map. Each one of the first 6 chakras kind of serves as a processing center for consciousness and energy. Root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye. These are the 6 levels of spiritual intelligence that our energy moves through as it ascends up the spinal highway, up the chakra network. The crown is the gateway to intelligent infinity. The intelligence of God is available within you right now. You have access to it, but you have to unlock it. Let's talk about spiritual intelligence itself and how spiritual intelligence relates to catalyst integration. As I was going through my own spiritual awakening, and especially reading the Law of One and understanding the 7 densities and the progression of consciousness's evolution, it became very clear to me that spiritual intelligence is a very real thing. And we usually, at least from the people I've read and the teachers I've studied, will use terms like awareness or consciousness as a kind of overarching term for it. But I really like quantifying it as spiritual intelligence because, again, there's people that are extremely brilliant in terms of IQ, and they can solve complex problems and all these things, but they have almost no awareness of the metaphysics of the universe, understanding the nature of their own mind, their ego, being aware of their thoughts, embodying spiritual virtues. These things don't even exist in some of their worlds, right? And yet it's an entire domain of intelligence that's untapped. And so when you ask how we quantify something from a scientific perspective, you're really looking at needing something that's measurable, like it can be measured somehow, and it's observable, right? It's a phenomenon that can be observed in real time, studied, and measured in some way. And so how do we measure the expansion of consciousness, right? Kind of a difficult task to undertake. But if we call the expansion of consciousness spiritual intelligence, and we say, okay, what is that? Let's define what that is. And there's many ways I like to define it. The classic way you've all heard is me saying that it's essentially the combination of your masculine and feminine qualities put together, meaning your awareness, self-awareness, that's the masculine, and your embodiment of your awareness, that's the feminine, and it's the addition of both of those, the sum total of both. Some people have a lot of awareness of their blind spots. They're a pretty self-aware person, and yet their addictions persist, their bad habits persist, they make the same mistakes. It's taken them a while to integrate the awareness that they have. So you need both. You can't just have one without the other. Another way of looking at spiritual intelligence is you could just say, as a kind of open-ended definition, that spiritual intelligence is your comprehension of reality. How aware are you of reality? How much do you comprehend the true nature of reality? Because we all live in these sort of vacuum-sealed bubbles of our own ego prism, right? Where our perception is being filtered through our own biases, our traumas, our judgments, our subjectivity, the way we've been conditioned and socialized and raised, our culture, all of our identities, everything about what makes up our ego is like a huge filter we're wearing over our perception. And so we don't see reality as it actually is, in its nakedness and its organic form. And so spiritual intelligence is the ability to be aware of the filtering of the mind's perception of reality versus what we know reality actually is. So like concepts and ideas, for example, only exist in the mind. There are no concepts in reality itself. Reality itself never presents itself to you and says, I'm a cloud, I'm a bird. Things just are. There's just the isness of reality. It doesn't name itself. And so there's huge implications to that, right? Are you aware of that? Do you integrate that understanding into the way you interact with reality? These are different ways we can sort of identify what spiritual intelligence really is. But to me, it's not until we really bring in the understanding that Ra teaches in the Law of One about catalyst integration that we get the best kind of living picture of what spiritual intelligence really is. And what's so cool about this is that although spiritual intelligence may be difficult to really define and quantify and measure, it is nonetheless within you right now, undeniably so. What I mean is, the actual map of spiritual intelligence, the SQ chart we look at on these slides, it exists within you. You are the map of spiritual intelligence. Your first 6 energy centers, right, from the root to the third eye, these 6 energy centers are the map of spiritual intelligence. Each one of the first 6 chakras kind of serves as a processing center for consciousness and energy. We know the 7th energy center, the crown chakra, is really just kind of a barometer or a readout of your overall level of polarization. So it is also a map of SQ in a different way, in that it shows the total vibratory level of your lower 6 chakras, but the crown isn't a processing center like the other 6 are. The crown is the gateway to intelligent infinity. So isn't it interesting that Ra uses the term intelligent infinity to describe God? Ra describes the Creator as intelligent infinity. On a lot of podcasts I go on, the podcast host will ask me, what is God in your definition? And there's lots of good answers to that question. But one really good answer is, the Creator is intelligent infinity. And so if God is infinite intelligence, and God dwells in all living beings, then the intelligence of God is available within you right now. You have access to it, but you have to unlock it, right? It's not that you have to go out into the universe and find where God's intelligence is. How do I find intelligence outside of me? Someone out there, make me more intelligent. Help, I'm struggling. No, you look within yourself, right? You look to know thyself. And as you strive to know thyself, spiritual intelligence just naturally flowers within you, because it's already your nature. You're already the infinite intelligence of God, but again, it has to be unlocked, or, as Ra might put it, unblocked, right? So these 6 processing centers, root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, these are the 6 levels of spiritual intelligence that our energy moves through as it ascends up the spinal highway, up the chakra network. And based on how open or blocked each processing center is, the energy, some of the energy at least, or sometimes all of it, gets blocked, stuck, trapped in that energy center. So spiritual intelligence, according to the Law of One's teachings, could also be defined as the ability to process life experiences through all 6 energy centers. To have all 6 processing centers equally active and involved in the catalytic process. This is probably the closest measurement device we have for quantifying our level of SQ. And so you can objectively look at your current life challenges, and you can compare them to the SQ chart and sort of roughly determine how high the catalytic energy of that particular experience is making its way up the chakras. And I'm going to take you through the SQ chart and show you chakra by chakra what each level represents and how the energy is processed at that center, so you can get more of an idea and a feel for, oh, okay, I understand. This is how I know when energy is making its way up into the heart. Because the SQ chart consists of 30 total qualities. So I've tried to boil spiritual intelligence down essentially to these 30 qualities. 6 chakras, 5 main qualities per chakra. So 30 total qualities. We're going to look at them here in a minute. And you get to gauge yourself on each SQ area of how high that energy is moving, because it's different for every quality, right? You may be very embodied in one area and really need some integration in another area. So it's not just unilateral, right? We're working on many different levels of our beingness. We're very complex, multi-dimensional beings. So each of these 6 levels you see here, really, there's 7 levels here, but the first 6 are what we're concerned with, because these are the actual processing centers, right? They're all named something, as you can see, that helps you to grasp the basic, what that level of spiritual intelligence looks like in its basic essence. So somebody who has a score of 50 or below means that the energy of all their life experiences is getting stuck in that root chakra. And so that's called the level of insanity, because that is the level of SQ where all human insanities take place. All of the most egregious acts and evils of the world take place below, at 50 or below points on the SQ chart. As the SQ rises to the sacral, we can call that the level of ignorance, because you're still strongly identified as an ego. You still do not perceive your oneness with everything, but you're becoming less insane and more sane. You're still ignorant to the way reality works, but maybe you're not fully insane anymore, like fully wrapped up in the illusion of separateness, deeply entrenched in victim consciousness. That's the root chakra. At the sacral chakra, you're beginning to find some personal empowerment. You're beginning to develop some awareness of your emotional world and the importance of regulating emotions, kind of these basic components of spirituality. That's what becomes available at the level of ignorance. Level of empowerment is one level higher now, where we start to become empowered with this knowledge of, hey, I'm not a victim of reality. Hey, I can create my reality. I can create with reality. The laws of the universe are not my enemy, but they actually work on my behalf, and I can work with them. Well, that's good news. And that's kind of what the empowerment level is. So it's the beginning of a spiritual awakening. But a full-blown spiritual awakening does not begin until we cross over that 101 to 125 SQ range. And that's the level of the heart, which, as we know here, is 4th density consciousness. When you can fully live from the heart, and technically speaking, you're not living fully from 4th density consciousness until 125 SQ points or above, but you're in the 4th density range. Once you pass over that 100 point mark, you're starting to really make your home in the heart. And this is called the awakening level, because you're now actually awakening to the reality of oneness. At the level of empowerment, oneness is just a concept. Maybe you have some fleeting experiences of it. Sure, maybe you have mystical moments where you realize, oh my gosh, all is one, and you feel the love of the Creator for everything. But very quickly the experience comes to its end, and you're back in ego consciousness. So at the empowerment level of SQ, we're not living from the heart. We may kind of jump up into the heart for quick moments. So at the awakening level, we're establishing ourselves in the heart, meaning every experience we have, like if you take the SQ test and it says you have a 105 SQ score, that means you're in the awakening level. This means you've done some serious work on yourself. You're becoming a very spiritually embodied person, and you are really beginning to integrate the qualities of the heart, like humility and compassion and gratitude and joy and service to others. Those are the 5 qualities of the heart chakra on the SQ chart. And then from there, we rise higher eventually to the level of illumination. And this is what I like to call early enlightenment. Illumination, the throat chakra represents the density of light, as Ra says, the wisdom density, where now your love is becoming embodied with deep spiritual wisdom. This is where you become an extremely authentic person. These are the qualities of a very open, active throat chakra, somebody who can communicate spiritual wisdom very well, very naturally and easily, and more importantly, somebody who embodies and demonstrates spiritual wisdom. And then above that is the final level of SQ, the third eye level of mastery. And this is total enlightenment, right? This is the level of the sage. This is the level of the guru. And above that, I've put on the chart the singularity level, which would be like the very few rare beings who've graced our planet. The avatars, we call them. Christ, Buddha, Krishna. Those divine beings that even sages and gurus bow before their feet and call them master. How do we even quantify that level of SQ? I don't know. But what we can say is it definitely exists. And so it's given a place on the SQ chart. So let's go through these first 6 levels really quick. I want to show you how the point, sort of briefly, how the point scale works on the SQ test, which is this. So a 0-point score in any quality on the SQ test represents that you're still living from deep victimhood, a self-righteous attitude, strong projections, and no real awareness of what the problem is. So a 0-point score represents that you are essentially totally blocked in this area, and you need some help to begin becoming aware of what this blockage is and how to begin healing it. So at the level of insanity, at a 0-point score, this is, people that live from the victim ideology of it's always everyone else's fault. Everything is so unfair. Life has been so unfair to me. If only people would be more fair. If only people could recognize how important I am, then I could be happy. Then I could find fulfillment in life. But the whole world is so screwed up and evil. How am I ever going to find happiness? It's all cruel and unfair. That is the basic mentality of probably more than 50% of humans on Earth, according to my own subjective experience of the world. Most people still believe that victim consciousness is a virtue of some sort, that it's actually good or helpful in any way. And of course, we know it's a massive blockage of your root chakra. So if you score a 1 in any SQ category, that represents that you're still living from that victimhood, although it's improved a bit. There is some awareness forming now about where you're blocked, and there's a desire to change. This is the classic 1-point quality, is that when you score a 1, it means there's a big blockage here, but you've got some awareness of it, and you have a desire to change it or to heal it, right? The desire to change is the pivotal factor that determines between scoring a 0 or a 1. If you're still blaming others, you don't have a desire to change yet. Self-responsibility begins with saying, all right, I got to change me if I want to change this problem. So when that quality picks up even further, you are at the 2-point level of SQ in that area, which means you're developing some real self-honesty, some real self-responsibility. You're willing to actually own up to where you're blocked and what needs to be worked on. So this is, again, kind of the early spiritual awakening level. 3-point score represents that the energy is making it up now to the heart chakra, which means you are officially spiritually awakened to the reality of love. And this is the way I would put this, because it's a hard thing to quantify verbally, but to say that somebody is spiritually awakened is this. There is an inner impulse within you, an inner sensitivity to the law of one, to the nature of oneness. Meaning now, when you say or do something that maybe is out of alignment with the law of one, a bit of selfishness, maybe a bit of a slight attack towards somebody, a judgment, whatever, as soon as you start deviating, you don't just have to think about it and say, oh, wait a minute, I remember in the law of one that this is a blockage, so maybe I shouldn't do this. It's not mental anymore. You feel the deviation, right? The heart is the sensitivity to spiritual reality. So you don't have to be told that it's a blockage, or you don't have to remember what you learned in XYZ video or book. It's a living truth to you. You're like, ooh, I feel off inside. I think I must have strayed somewhere. And you go right into getting back into alignment. Again, the gospel of Jesus, repentance. I'm sorry, God, I didn't realize that was unloving. Thank you for your forgiveness. I am determined to make this right. And you actually, like Jesus said, you actually go to your brother or your sister and you make amends, you apologize. How can I make this right? That is the fruit of somebody who's actually living in the heart. So To be spiritually awakened is to be sensitive to the law of one, such that you feel your deviations. You don't just conceptually think about them, right? So at the awakening level of 3, when you score a 3 on any quality in the SQ test, that means you have had a strong spiritual practice in this area for quite some time to get to this level. Nobody just accidentally arrives in the heart chakra. It doesn't work like that. It is a road not traveled by anyone without intention. We can say it that way. You only make it into the heart with sincere determination. This is the way God has designed the game of the universe. You want to progress up to the higher levels? You want to stop playing at the amateur levels? You want to go to the higher pro levels? You got to practice, just like every sport, just like every competitive endeavor in humanity. Nobody winds up at the Olympics just because they're naturally talented. Yes, some people are more naturally talented, no doubt. And if they practice, they'll probably be better than most people. That's true for SQ as well. Some souls come here with a much higher frequency level than other souls do. You're coming from a higher density. You're not maybe a native 3rd density soul. So you're bringing more SQ with you, which means, yeah, you'll probably awaken faster than most people on the planet. Yes, you're probably quicker to embody spiritual truth and all of that, but nonetheless, you still got to do the work, right? Nobody escapes doing the work. That's why we come here. We come here for the catalyst integration. So you only score a 3 because you've been doing the work, baby. You have had a strong spiritual practice in that specific area. And that's what that represents. Illumination is a 4-point score. This is early stage enlightenment. So scoring a 4 on any category is an extremely high score. A bravo. You are incredibly embodied in this area. You've done a whole lot of work on yourself in this area. And now you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You get to enjoy the natural, easy, effortless enlightenment of the throat chakra, which just understands naturally and easily comprehends spiritual truth. This is the illumination level, is the level of light, where the light of consciousness is dawning in a powerful way in your mind. And then we have that final frontier that few beings ever cross over, which is the level of 5 SQ points, the level of perfect enlightenment or total crystallization. Mastery represents you have mastered that SQ quality. You have no more work to be done here, at least in a human lifetime. At higher densities, it keeps going for sure. But you need to be in a 4th density body or a 5th or 6th density body to actually work on those densities, right? In a 3rd density body, you're working on 3rd density catalysts. So mastery on the SQ chart represents mastery of the 3rd density level of SQ. So this is what the root chakra level kind of looks like. And then these are the 5 blockages. And on the right side in blue, you see the 5 qualities of a very balanced and active root chakra. So when the red ray energy center is firing on all cylinders and is not blocked by these things on the left, it gives you a feeling of prosperity. It gives you a feeling of trust. You trust life, you trust the universe. You have a great sense of purpose. You want to be alive. You want to be a human being. You want to be in your body. You're excited to be alive. And then, of course, you're balanced. You're not extremely reactive towards everything. Extreme reactivity is one of the biggest hallmarks of a blocked root chakra. Why? Because again, the root chakra represents our primal survival and safety, our personal needs, our animal nature, right? When you're blocked in that area, then everything to you feels like a survival test. Everything provokes you to fear and anxiety and stress, and you go into that fight or flight mode very easily. So being balanced is one of the qualities of the root chakra. The root chakra is the foundation, right? When you have a balanced root chakra, you can be balanced in the way you respond to life experiences. A challenging or even threatening experience can happen to you, and it doesn't throw you off your center. So this is an example of the 5 qualities of the root. The next one is ignorance. SQ range 51 to 75. These are the qualities of this level of SQ. All these different qualities, right, is what this specific processing center, this chakra, represents. These are the 5 blockages and the 5 qualities. The solar plexus represents your personal identity or individuality, your social self, your social personality, how you show up in the world, how you relate to other people. The solar plexus represents your intellect. These are the 5 blockages and the 5 qualities. Control, obviously the third belief. You'll see the beliefs in these energy centers very clearly. Control, victimhood, jealousy, projection, and pride. These are the main blockages to the solar plexus. And of course, sort of like the shadow and the light side, right? When victimhood is healed, it becomes empowerment, which is a classic quality of a balanced solar plexus. Heart chakra, we went through this. Compassion, joy, service, gratitude, humility. Now, when we get to the upper 3 energy centers, you see it's reversed now. Because as we teach here in 40U, we are truly only blocked in the lower 3 energy centers. And this is why Ra stresses the importance of, hey, the whole purpose of you being here as a human is to balance the lower 3 energy centers, because they are the foundations of what make up your spiritual self. And so if those lower 3 are blocked, the energies can't make it up into the higher centers where they can be processed for greater spiritual qualities. So now in the heart chakra, we are going to look at, well, the heart, the throat, and the third eye. We're going to look at what are the 5 main qualities in those centers and how do we activate them more. And on the right, you see what blocks those qualities. And you'll see a lot of the same repeats that you saw in the lower 3 chakras as well. Illumination level, inner wisdom, communication, authenticity, integrity, honesty, truthfulness, transparency, creativity, and being divinely guided. That's kind of the essence of the throat. 5 qualities are wisdom, communication, authenticity, presence, and integrity. To me, these are the 5 most essential qualities of a balanced throat chakra. And of course, their blockages. Finally, we have the third eye level, sort of the qualities: spiritual balance, intuition, psychic awareness, the ability to focus or concentrate, the ability to visualize, imagine, your level of inner stillness, again, self-awareness, spiritual empowerment. So the 5 qualities I've boiled down the third eye to are spiritual balance. We're talking about the balance between masculine, feminine natures, the dual nature of reality, positive, negative polarities, right? In the third eye, positive and negative polarities become one, become balanced in your awareness. So that's what that balance represents. Intuition, empowerment. Again, this is spiritual empowerment now, not personal empowerment. Self-awareness and concentration. So that's a sneak peek. And we'll get into our catalyst integration now. If you have a catalyst you want to talk about today, feel free to put up your virtual hand and we'll bring you on. And let's see how well you can gauge yourself today on where you might be at in that particular catalyst.